from Southwest Florida's news leader. This is Wink News at 11.
Now on the Nightbeat, a surprise guest prowling through a Southwest Florida community.
It's a bear. It was a huge bear.
Neighbors shocked by the sight, capturing the creature on camera.
They come every night and go through everyone's trash.
Tonight, how you can protect yourself if you encounter a bear.
Plus, a protest on the beach.
It's just unbelievable.
Right now, dozens fighting to keep our beach water clean.
And the message of a deputy. Tonight, the school resource officer assigned to the Parkland school makes a statement sparking a conversation.
First on the Nightbeat, an all-new bears roaming several Naples neighborhoods, leaving people who call the area home on edge tonight. And these bears are all across town. Check out this video sent to us of the wild animals hanging out near all seasons of Naples.
People living in at least 4 different parts of Naples have reported seeing the bears. Take a look at this map. You can see the 4 spots we've received reported sightings. Each encounter is different. In some, the bears climb on cars. In others, they rummage through the trash. In all of them, one thing is certain. Neighbors say they are too close for comfort. The Nightbeat's Oliver Redston is live in Naples right now with what they're saying. Oliver.
Well, Brittany, neighbors say these are the reasons that bears keep getting so close to homes. Trash cans with lids that flip open and provide an easy food source for a hungry bear. And some are worried the problem could be getting even worse. As the summer heat rolls into Southwest Florida, they're making appearances everywhere.
It's a bear. It was a huge bear.
Walking in front of cars, walking on top of cars, and of course, digging for food wherever they can find it.
They're hungry.
Dozens of you have sent us pictures and videos of bears in your backyard, most of them with a common theme.
They come every night and go through everyone's trash.
And we give them a smorgasbord of dumpsters to feed from, so when they're hungry, they come out and they eat. They're bears.
Jason Bernard even caught a bear climbing to get into his dumpster.
It does scare me. I have 4 children.
Since then, management in his complex have taken extra precautions, but some worry bear interactions could just be a new way of life.
This whole area up Immokalee Road all the way to Ave Maria, it's only going to get worse. They keep building. You're going to see more and more bears interacting with the community.
It gets pretty stressful, but you know, what else are we to do? The bears are here and they're not going to leave.
And the complex where we're standing is the same complex where a man was attacked by a bear just a few months ago. Since then, there have not been any reported bear attacks in Southwest Florida, but of course, you should always take precautions. Live on the Nightbeat, Oliver Redston, Wink News now.
And encountering a bear can be scary, but there are ways to protect yourself, those precautions that Oliver just mentioned. The National Park Service offers these tips. First, identify yourself. You should talk calmly so the bear knows that you're a human and not a prey. Also, make yourself look as large as possible. You can move to higher ground to make this happen. If the bear doesn't move, you should then move away yourself slowly and sideways. And if the bear is with its cubs, don't get between the mother bear and her offspring. If she feels her cubs are in danger, she's more likely to attack.
And it turned out to be a nice Saturday here across the area. We did see a few showers this afternoon, actually beginning this morning, and then they moved northeast this afternoon. For right now, 1 shower left. That's about it. This will be dissipating as we head on to the next hour or so. But tomorrow's a big day. It's Father's Day. So what can we expect for that? Early morning sunshine, increasing cloud cover, and then rain. I'll detail the hourlies coming right up.
An unusual sight on Fort Myers Beach. People lined the Matanzas Bridge today in support of clean water.
And I think it's a travesty what's happening to our water. And oh my God, Governor Scott, what are you doing?
For several hours, people held signs and shouted chants. The group upset about the discharges from Lake Okeechobee after heavy rainfall that turn our beach water brown every year.
Moved down here about 3 years ago, mainly for the beautiful water. And then what happened?
Their main mission today? To get the attention of lawmakers and city leaders to find another way.
I mean, we're talking 20, 30,000 people strong online we have, not to mention statewide support. We're going to keep our foot on the pedal when it comes to our demands and them being met.
The Army Corps of Engineers says 2.6 billion gallons of water a day will continue going out through at least the early part of next week.
The releases we've done over the past 2 weeks have kept the lake about a quarter of a foot lower than it otherwise would have been, and that's some fairly significant story.
We're at the Roosevelt Bridge.
The rally here at home had support on the East Coast, too. People filled the Roosevelt Bridge in Stuart, Florida, to protest the LACO releases sent in their direction. Water activists here at home say this won't be the last time they rise up.
The discharges have just begun. This is going to be one brutal summer for water quality in this area.
And the organizers of the rally say they'll show up to the town council meeting Monday to ask the mayor of Fort Myers Beach to join standing up to the Army Corps on the LACO releases, which are done to relieve the aging Herbert Hoover Dike.
The billions of gallons of water being released from LACO aren't just causing problems for us on our beaches in Southwest Florida. The water's sent to the East Coast as well. This is what the St. Lucie River in Stuart looks like. Blue-green algae is quite obvious there. It's similar to what we're seeing in the Gulf. State lawmakers are taking notice, and they want the Army Corps of Engineers to make some changes.
2 weeks, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers has been using my community as their own personal septic tank. That's not hyperbole. That's the truth.
South Florida's regional water managers are offering proof algae is coming from sources besides Lake Okeechobee. Water District staffers shared this aerial shot of an algae-choked tributary feeding the river. This is 10 miles east of Lake O. The Army Corps says this is similar to what's happening in Southwest Florida. Of course, we're also dealing with red tide. So if you're thinking about celebrating Dad at the beach this weekend, try to avoid Charlotte County and some parts of Lee. This is the latest red tide map released by Florida Fish and Wildlife. All of those orange dots represent medium levels. Red tide causes dead fish to wash on shore and can make you cough.
A new video now. A Cape Coral family of 4 is rescued off the coast of Sanibel. The Coast Guard sent us this video of the rescue Friday. The family of 4 were stuck on a sandbar after their boat ran aground. 2 children were among the rescued. No one was hurt.
New details now in the Nightbeat. The victim of an overnight crash is dead. FHP confirmed this morning that a 71-year-old Fort Myers man died from a brutal crash. Several cars rolled over. It all happened around 2:30 this morning on 6 Mile Cypress Road, right near Hammond Stadium. 40-year-old Dwayne Holliday was arrested on DUI and manslaughter charges. We're working to find out what started a house fire that sent 2 people fleeing for their lives. It happened this afternoon at Royal Woods Drive in Fort Myers. The San Carlos Fire Department says the 2 people inside the house made it out okay. No one was hurt.
In crafting a plan, that was the mission of today's active shooter and mass casualty presentation. Over 1,000 people gathered at the Barbara B. Mann Center to learn about survival techniques during a dangerous situation. Those that took part were the Lee County Sheriff's Office, the Department of Public Safety, and the Lee County Trauma District. Many say events like this should happen more often.
You or him that's going to die, and you have to have that mindset in order to survive.
I wanted to bring my grandkids here with me today so that as young as they are, they would have some mental tools in case something should ever happen.
Due to the large interest in today's event, the Sheriff's Office says it hopes to host more.
A new request to beef up school security in Charlotte County. The Punta Gorda City Council will be asked to hire 3 new school resource officers. They'll be placed at Punta Gorda Middle School, Baker Academy, and Charlotte High. The city will have to pay their salary and benefits. The council will talk about the matter Wednesday.
In Wink News is Campaign Central. Governor Rick Scott is back on the campaign trail in his bid for U.S. Senate. Today he visited Naples to speak to the organization Collier for Trump. More than 100 people attended today's rally. Rick Scott says he's done great work as Florida's governor. Now it's time to help President Trump clean up Washington.
The first thing we have to do is we have to focus on fixing our economy, not growing the size of government. But I've put out, we need term limits. We can't have career politicians. Number 2, we need to have a 2/3 majority to raise taxes at the federal level.
Scott also says we need to give the president the authority to make a line item veto on individual provisions of a bill.
New right now, more of you are getting jobs. Florida's unemployment rate is decreasing. State officials say the May jobless rate was 0.1% lower than it was in April. Hendry County has one of the highest unemployment rates in the state at 5%. There are about 391,000 people in our state without a job. New information now, more flight delays. Just days after canceling flights, Allegiant Airlines says passengers coming and going from Punta Gorda can expect longer wait times. It's part of the airline's transition into new planes. Wink News told you earlier this week the airline was canceling flights across the nation as they await the new planes. 2 of the flights were at the Punta Gorda airport.
And now in the Nightbeat, strangers are working together to rescue manatees on the beach, as you see right there. A woman posted these pictures to Facebook. She says a group of people worked together to push a mother and father manatee back out to sea at Clam Pass in Naples a couple of days ago. The woman said in her post, it's amazing to see how people can pitch in and work together.
Targeting your wallet. Coming up in 30 minutes, the nationwide scam being linked back to Florida and how you can keep your money safe.
Plus, Disney gets rid of its alligators. In just minutes, how many gators are being removed from the theme park a year after a little boy was dragged into a pond and killed?
And live Doppler radar showing one small shower here across the area. That's about it. We do have Father's Day on tap for tomorrow. What will that forecast bring? I'll tell you all about it coming right up.
New on the Week News Nightbeat, the issue of immigration comes to Florida. A Southwest Florida U.S. representative sounds off on President Trump's administration separating children from their families. Representative Francis Rooney is calling for the president to stop the practice.
Rather keep the families unified, detain them, and adjudicate them.
Should the president do just that? He has the power to do that right now. He could do it with the stroke of the pen.
I think it would be a good idea.
During his interview with CNN, Rooney said if Congress would have passed immigration reform in 2007, when President George H.W. Bush made the attempt, we would not have the issues we are seeing today. And President Trump is lashing out at Democrats in Congress over immigration. In a tweet today, the president said they're to blame for the separation of migrant families at the border. The Nightbeat's Weijia Zhang has more from the Trump presidency.
We're getting a first look at the so-called tent city in Tornillo, Texas, created for children being separated from their parents who are trying to cross the border illegally.
I hate it. I hate the children being taken away.
On Friday, President Trump said it was not his administration's fault.
The Democrats forced that law upon our nation. I hate it.
But it was Mr. Trump's own Justice Department that implemented a policy change in May, requiring kids to be taken away from parents who are held in jail. New numbers reveal over a 6-week period, nearly 2,000 children were separated from nearly as many adults. The crackdown has sparked controversy and stirred emotions. This image shows a 2-year-old girl from Honduras crying as police search and detain her mother. Weijia Zhang, CBS News, the White House.
And breaking in the last hour, we've just learned President Trump plans to meet with Republicans to discuss immigration. The meeting will happen days before the House is expected to vote on a pair of bills addressing immigration, including a compromise bill between conservatives and centrists.
Taking their message across the country, the activists from the March for Our Lives movement kicked off their advocacy tour last night in Chicago. It's a group that started with student survivors of the Parkland school shooting. And while this is the view from the air now, thousands of people joined in. The movement's leaders say their prime message is not to put certain politicians in office. They want young people to make their voices heard by hitting the polls.
No matter where you come from, your community, your economic background matter.
This isn't the first we've seen the March for Our Lives movement capture national attention. The first march happened on March 24th, a little more than a month after the Parkland school shooting.
And taking steps to protect you from alligators. Disney says it's removing alligators from all bodies of water on their property. The changes come 2 years since 2-year-old Lane Thomas Graves was killed when an alligator dragged him in the water at the Seven Seas Lagoon. FWC is responsible for removing gators from the ponds. The agency just released new numbers on its efforts. Prior to Graves' death, 45 alligators were removed in a 15-month period. In the next 15 months, from June 2016 to September 2007, 95 alligators were removed. Now FWC says to date, 139 alligators have been taken away.
I'm sure there's plenty of gators around here, but I wouldn't think that they'd be in such an enclosed space with so many people.
Disney says it's working with FWC to protect its guests. FWC says the removal of all these alligators does not have a significant impact on Florida's 1.3 million gator population.
And live Doppler radar finally looking clear, with the exception of this one little tiny shower that, as I speak.
Now, from Southwest Florida's news leader, this is Wink News at 11.
And now in the Nightbeat, a sudden twist in a lawsuit against the now former Stoneman Douglas School Resource Deputy following the Valentine's Day shooting that killed 17 people. Lawyers for Scott Peterson claim it was never his duty to go in and stop the killer. Peterson's lawyer insists the law backs him up since he never acted in bad faith. The story is new right now.
He's been called a coward by the President of the United States.
It was a real shot to the police department.
A loser by angry parents, and scrutinized for so-called bad judgment by his own boss.
He never went in.
But despite the constant barrage of insults thrown at former school resource officer Scott Peterson, his attorney says by law he had no obligation to confront confessed school shooter Nicholas Cruz. Back in April, Andrew Pollock lost his daughter Meadow in the shooting. He filed a wrongful lawsuit death against Peterson and several others. His attorneys have now filed a motion to throw out the case, stating no duty of care exists at common law for an individual to address the killer and kill the killer. And even if such a duty exists, a statutory immunity bars the claim, meaning you can't sue a law enforcement officer for how they handled an emergency situation. But attorney Armando Rosquet says it's not that simple. He believes Pollock has a decent argument.
The students at that school were relying on this police officer to protect them. It would appear that the police officer is aware of what's happening at the school, and it appears that he is responding to the scene of the shooting. And so the question becomes, once he's made that decision to respond, can he then pull back and choose to do nothing?
Andrew Pollock responded to the Sun-Sentinel about the motion. He says, "I really feel that we really exposed him to everyone in the country, and we're going to keep exposing him. He hasn't seen the last of my lawyer and myself."
Deputy Peterson resigned just days after the shooting. He said in media interviews that he did what he thought was best and believed the shooter was not inside a school building.
Fighting for records, the mother of a Parkland victim wants the medical records of the shooter released. Helena Ramsey was killed in the Valentine's Day shooting. Her mother, Ann, wants the shooter's mental health records released. The suspect was treated at Henderson Behavioral Health. It's being sued by other victims' families. While most medical records are protected by law, there are times when the public interest overcomes the law.
To determine if Henderson Behavioral Health could have done something to prevent Mr. Cruz from his murderous rampage.
Henderson Behavioral Health says it did nothing wrong and wants to release the documents, but they can't because of state and federal law. A judge must order the release of the records.
And we finally had our radar go quiet. We're going to put it to bed tonight because there's virtually nothing going on. We did have a couple of showers over the past hour or so, but as the time has worn on, the showers have since dissipated. So right now we are not seeing any rain throughout the area, and that will be the case for most of the morning and overnight period. By tomorrow morning, expect to see plenty of sunshine. It'll be warm and humid in the morning, so if you have any plans, do that probably by about 4 p.m. because by 4 p.m. the showers and thunderstorms will be working their way toward us. Until then, morning sunshine 74, by noon mostly cloudy 87, and once again scattered to numerous showers moving into the forecast by the late afternoon and evening.
Developing now, killed in the line of duty, 2 Kansas Sheriff's deputies are dead after being shot outside the county courthouse in Kansas City Friday. Deputies Teresa King and Patrick Rohrer were transporting 2 inmates when they were overcome. One of the inmates used one of the deputies' gun to shoot the 2 deputies. Investigators don't believe the deputies did anything to allow the inmates to take control.
From what I observed and what I believe the investigation will show is they followed proper procedure. So we always evaluate procedures, but we did confirm that they did follow proper procedure.
The sheriff's office says it's not looking for any suspects in connection to the shooting. New video now, a taxi driver hit a group of pedestrians on a crowded sidewalk in Moscow, injuring 7 people. Police detained the suspect, saying he apparently lost control of the vehicle. An investigation is underway.
And lives left dangling literally in midair. This evening, we are learning new details about this roller coaster derailment on the boardwalk in Daytona. Late tonight, we learned 2 of the people hurt were in town on business trip from Kentucky. One of the victims has been released from the hospital. 7 others are still hospitalized. And tonight, we know the ride was inspected just hours before the accident. The Nightbeat's Vanessa Ariaza has the new details new on the Nightbeat.
The Sandblaster roller coaster is a staple for Margaret Pridemore and her family every year they visit from Kentucky. This year, her daughter Abby didn't get a chance to ride it. When she tried 2 days ago, it was out of service.
Honestly, and I tell you honestly, it's down more than it's running.
It never starts on its own. Like, at least 4 workers have to push it just to get it to go against the chains and stuff.
Inspectors with the Department of Agriculture were out this morning. Less than 24 hours into the investigation, there are no answers as to what may have caused the cars to go off the rails. But inspection reports collected by News 6 show this ride has had issues in the past. The earliest was just last month when it failed multiple inspections. Within a year, the ride failed 3.
And I feel bad as a parent that I let her ride it, but you know, you do that. You know, you trust things, and I think it's still pretty scary, I'll be honest with you.
The ride has been housed at Daytona Beach's pier since 2013. Prior to that, according to the roller coaster database, the ride operated in 5 other states before making its way to Florida. The Department of Agriculture released this statement today saying in part, quote, "We have launched an investigation to determine the cause of the accident, and anyone who should be held accountable will be held accountable."
The Occupational Safety and Health Administration says that the department is not investigating this incident because no employees were injured.
A threat to the wetlands. Experts say plans by the Trump administration could threaten a Florida staple. President Trump wants to redefine what constitutes a waterway under the Wetlands Mitigation Banking Program. It's been around since the early 90s and has been supported by every president since George H.W. Bush. Experts say changing the definition would result in the development and destruction of wetlands nationwide. Preparing for trial, special counsel Robert Mueller's team is going up against former Trump campaign chairman Paul Manafort. Manafort is accused of dozens of crimes not associated with his time running the president's election efforts. The Nightbeat's Kenneth Craig has the details from the Trump presidency.
Former Trump campaign chairman Paul Manafort spent the night in this Warsaw, Virginia jail, and he will be there for many nights to come. Manafort appeared in court Friday where a federal judge revoked his bail. A grand jury found sufficient probable cause that he was trying to tamper with witnesses. Manafort and his Russian business partner allegedly asked European contacts to testify that their lobbying work did not take place in the U.S. He will now remain in jail until his trial on dozens of charges, including financial fraud, money laundering, and making false statements. Judge Amy Berman Jackson ruled that jail was her only choice, saying, "This is not middle school. I can't take away his cell phone. I have no appetite for this."
You know, Paul Manafort worked for me for a very short period of time.
President Trump distanced himself a bit from the man who headed his campaign for almost 5 months, but also stuck up for him, suggesting that Manafort's alleged crimes are too old to prosecute.
They've gone back 12 years to find things about somebody, and I don't think it's right.
Friday evening, the president also tweeted that the judge's decision to put Manafort in jail was a tough sentence and added, "Didn't know Manafort was the head of the mob." Sources tell CBS News that Manafort is banking on a presidential pardon in order to stay out of jail for the rest of his life. Kenneth Craig, CBS News, New York.
Manafort's trial is scheduled to begin in September.
And caught on camera, watches 2 massive cooling towers implode in Jacksonville. It is a change to the city skyline and represents a new era of clean energy. It's the first step of a decommissioned effort for the entire power plant that shut down in January. Another cement stack is set to come down in about a year. The plant's closing has reduced the power company's carbon footprint by 30%.
Gaining traction in Florida, SIPO cryptocurrency is becoming popular among people in the Sunshine State. The Tampa and St. Petersburg area is ranked the 7th most Bitcoin-friendly city in America. Miami and Fort Lauderdale is ranked 8th. There are currently more than 160 Bitcoin ATMs across the state, and an entirely Bitcoin real estate transaction took place in Miami just last week. The Seminole County tax collector also accepts it as a form of payment.
And now in the Nightbeat tonight, researchers are one step closer to getting major funding to protect you from shark attacks. Dr. Chris Lowe is a shark scientist at Cal State. He's awaiting funding to begin an intense study on the great white shark. Lowe says the new funding is needed so his team can place acoustic tags on a lot more sharks.
So when the shark swims within 300 yards of a receiver, it logs the time, the date, and the ID number. And when it detects a shark, it sends the information to the cloud. And then the lifeguards get an email alert saying a shark was just detected at this location.
funding will also mean new software using drones for lifeguards to watch them from their towers when sharks turn up, and also helicopter pilots will record sightings with a new cell phone app that will go immediately into the cloud.
The Florida Connection coming up. A nationwide rental scam leads to the Sunshine State. Tonight, the warning you need to know.
Plus, fighting back, China isn't happy with tariffs imposed by the Trump administration. After the break, what it could mean for you.
And live Doppler radar has finally gone quiet. We did have showers and thunderstorms basically up until about this point. For tomorrow, the big Father's Day forecast. That's coming right up.
And new on the Night Beat, an old scam gets a new twist with a Florida focus. Homes up for sale across the country being listed for rent and scammers walking away with your money. One woman in Tennessee says she listed her house for sale, but it ended up for rent on Craigslist. The Craigslist lister right here in Florida. The Florida scammer sent photos of the home and urged those interested to send the first month's rent and a deposit.
And it's just kind of that, I cannot believe that my house is being scammed.
As always, you should never send money to someone you don't know. And if you find an ad that's too good to be true, it probably is.
All right, Father's Day tomorrow. How's the weather looking?
Pretty good, pretty good. We have a look at the 7-day, or I should say 10-day forecast. For tomorrow, we'll begin with Father's Day. It'll start off with mostly sunny, increasing cloud cover, and by the afternoon and evening, that's when the rain will come in the forecast. So most of the day looking pretty good.
Well, and happy Father's Day to you. You were just showing me pictures of your really cute kids, so what are you doing tomorrow?
I'll be here.
FaceTime, send pictures. Yeah,
You'll have some morning time. Yeah, you'll be here.
I sent cards. I hope they get to Texas in time. We'll see.
Yeah, we love you. I love you, Dad. Isn't that enough?
Yeah. Wink loves dads. Join us on Father's Day.
We hope you have a great day tomorrow. Have a great night.